Kodak used to be the biggest name in photography. They dominated the market for almost a century, after being at the forefront of innovation in photography and making advanced film cameras a staple in the household. They were the absolute leader of the entire industry. Yet in 2012, they filed for bankruptcy. The form the company takes today is very different from the original structure, since they have scaled back operations to work in a much smaller capacity. Here, we will be going through their pretty significant decline, from king of the industry to what they are today. Known throughout the world as Kodak, the Eastman Kodak Company is an American imaging company that began in the 19th century. The corporation was founded in 1888 by George Eastman and Henry Strong in Rochester, New York, where its headquarters are located today. George Eastman was frontman in the operation, while Henry Strong was more of a silent partner. The Kodak name comes from George Eastman's attraction to the letter K, and believing that Kodak was a hard-sounding word and hard to mispronounce. Eastman wanted a word that was short, easy to pronounce, and didn't bear any resemblance to names that already existed. Before founding Kodak, George Eastman founded a company called the Eastman Dry Plate Company, where he created single-shot sheets of paper covered in photographic emulsion. He hired William Walker in 1883, who was an expert in photography and keen to get involved in the advancing scene. Soon after William was hired, the two men invented a holder for a roll of the company's photo plates in 1885, setting the tone for the innovative relationship to come. During this time, fellow inventors also in the photography scene, Hannibal Goodwin and Emile Renault, were also making advances in photographic technology of their own. Goodwin designed a transparent nitrocellulose film in 1887, while Renault a perforated nitrocellulose film. It became clear that Eastman was at the forefront of the innovation when, in 1889, he combined all of these ideas to invent the first mass-produced rolls of transparent photographic film. Eastman had a simple approach to business. His strategy was known as the razor and blade strategy. He sold inexpensive cameras throughout the history of Kodak. Then, he counted on the sales of consumables such as film, chemicals, and paper to generate massive profits. Eastman was so prolific in the photography technology realm that he worked with Thomas Edison, who was credited in 1892 for the invention of 35mm film when he decided to trim 40mm film stock while working with Eastman. Before Kodak, photography technology was anything but streamlined. The equipment was incredibly large and heavy, and you would have to keep all the development equipment nearby as the photographs had to be developed immediately. Kodak is known for the creation of a consumer market for amateur photography and pioneering the technology that allowed Hollywood movies to be filmed. They also introduced digital photography into the home and made easy-to-shoot home movies a possibility for families, which had never been done before. They made photography available to the general public. The company's slogan was even, "You press the button, we do the rest," which in the late 1800s probably seemed out of this world. The first Kodak camera was released in 1888. It came preloaded with a roll of paper film that had a capacity to shoot 100 photographs. When it was finished, customers would send Kodak back their cameras, who would then load them with new film and develop the used roll. Due to its incredibly simple design, a worldwide love for amateur photography was born. This camera was replaced with a collapsible model that required nitrocellulose film in 1897, which was marketed as a pocket-sized camera. The prolific product Kodak produced from the early days was called the Brownie, which was a cardboard camera which sold for only $1 each, overtaking the market in massive proportions. The early 20th century saw Kodak profits soaring when its popularity increased exponentially. From 1900 to 1930, the world was enamored with taking photographs and how easy it now was. Kodak chose to invest a large amount of its profits into research and development and developed Kodachrome in 1935. Kodachrome was the first widely available color film on the market and was available in all formats including 8mm, 16mm, and 35mm. To process the film was a complicated and expensive process, so to combat this, Kodak would sell the film with the cost of processing built into the price. forcing consumers to get their film processed by Kodak. In 1954, there was a legal ruling stating it was unfair to the other existing photography companies who were able to process the film, so they couldn't bundle the cost of the film with the processing. Due to this, the price of the film significantly dropped, and in 2009, Kodak stopped making it altogether. Consequently, around the same time that the company was facing significant losses in profits. Kodak introduced several prominent camera models throughout its history. The Retina series 35mm camera was introduced to the market in 1949 and was a popular staple until 1956. In 1956, the cardboard Brownie camera got an upgrade and was renamed the Star-Matic in automatic form. It was so popular and well received that it sold 10 million units from 1959 to 1964. In 1963, the Instamatic camera was introduced, which became popular due to its point-and-shoot capabilities and its simplicity to load. By the end of the 1960s, the company had over $4 billion in sales and over 100,000 employees. Kodak was responsible for the first ever photo of planet Earth taken from outer space in 1966 during John Glenn's orbit. In the 1970s, the name Kodak was practically synonymous with photography. By 1976, they had an 85% market share in cameras and a 90% market share in camera film. Also in 1976, Kodak released the Kodamatic, an instant picture camera as a rival to Polaroid. Kodak's marketing team coined the phrase Kodak Moments, which was used then on to refer to any moment which was worthy of a photo, and anything you'd want to remember. People began to associate the Kodak brand with life's memorable moments. The decline of Kodak came hand in hand with the development of technology and the world's fast-growing fascination with digital cameras. Unfortunately, they just could not keep up with the rapidly growing advancement of technology. Japan was at the forefront of this, mastering digital technology with the development of SLR cameras. As soon as Kodak realized that the future lied in digital cameras, they jumped in and attempted to establish themselves in the market. Despite the fact that they were late to the party, Kodak did actually invent the first ever digital camera in 1975. Kodak researcher Steve Sasson invented the digital camera, which they chose to keep quiet in the hope that it wouldn't take off as a product and analog would continue to dominate. Throughout the 1990s, when digital cameras were on the rise, Kodak was in fact selling them. In 2005, the year that Kodak started seeing its biggest losses, Kodak was actually the leader in the US digital camera market. There are many theories as to why Kodak faced such a significant downfall, which eventually led to their filing for bankruptcy in 2012. The most popular theory drawn is that since all of their faked research and resources were funneled into the analog film market throughout the late 20th century, it was unfortunately too little too late by this point. Kodak didn't focus on digital cameras enough. They were treated as more of a side project, while they still chose to focus on the analog film market. They had a blind optimism that the analog camera market would once again dominate the market. They ignored the facts that the digital market was growing at such a fast rate and saw what only they wanted to see. With film, they were experienced. They had 100 years' worth of experience, in fact, and had perfected all of the practices, or practically invented them. Kodak chose to make their cameras so cheap and make the majority of their profits from film. This was their ethos from the beginning. They were practically giving away the cameras, making slim margins which they would gain back from the sales of film and the processing of the photographs. Since digital cameras require no film and mostly no processing, the product, which had always been their smallest earner, was quickly becoming the industry standard. They chose to ignore the signs of the future of the industry and then couldn't compete with companies like Sony and Canon that had already established themselves in the market. Today, Kodak exists as a global commercial printing and imaging company. Their revenues are significantly smaller than what they once were, and in many minds, they have failed as a company. In 1975, when Steve Sasson invented the first digital camera, they could have chosen to run with it, rather than attempting to bury it. There's no doubt that with the resources Kodak had, they would have been able to largely profit from this shift in focus and embrace the future of photography. Either way, with the development of the mobile phone and people having access to a camera in their pocket, digital cameras are becoming more and more defunct for consumers. Who knows what would have happened if Kodak ran with Steve Sasson's invention in 1975? Maybe all of our phones would be made by Kodak. So, have you ever owned a Kodak camera or used any of their film products? How does that experience compare to using our smartphone cameras today? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. I would love to see them. If you've enjoyed this, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I will see you soon, continuing to share great business stories past and present and whatever else happens in the business world. So thank you all and have an excellent rest of your day.